As every Rangers fan will know, the origins of one of the world's great football clubs lies amidst the peaceful setting of the River Clyde as it flows through Glasgow Green. The first inductee to Rangers Hall of Fame could only be Moses McNeill, originally from Rue on the Gairloch, who in 1872 was only 16 when he and his friends gradually lost interest in rowing as the new game of football began to be played on the adjacent green. It is Moses who's generally credited with giving the new club its name, the Rangers, and the trophy he won for athletics is the oldest in the Ibrox trophy room. The club's first home was at Burn Bank, just off the Great Western Road in Glasgow. Moses scored one of the goals in Rangers' first cup final in 1877, when the young newcomers lost 3-2 to the mighty Vale of Leven in a second replay. He was a small but powerful winger, who had become the club's first international when he played for Scotland against Wales in 1876. McNeill played in the club's second unsuccessful Scottish Cup final in 1879, as Rangers' popularity increased with their growing challenge to Vale, Queen's Park, Renton and the other major clubs of the time. They moved into a larger ground at Kinning Park, as McNeill and the early pioneers attracted more and more followers. Amongst them was our second inductee, Tom Valence, who would become president of the committee on his retiral in 1883. It was in recognition of his contribution during those early years when the tall right back was the first in what would become a long line of inspirational Rangers captains. Valence, incidentally, held the Scottish long jump record for 14 years and was a fine artist who had two of his paintings accepted by the Royal Scottish Academy. By the 1890s, Rangers were becoming established as one of the dominant forces in Scottish football. In 1894, they won the Scottish Cup for the first time, with John "Jock" McPherson in the side. McPherson is generally regarded as the finest player of the club's first 50 years. He won 5 championship medals and 3 Scottish Cup badges. In 1907, he became a club director and served until his death in 1926. One of his teammates in that successful side of the 1890s was fullback Nicol Smith, whose story is one of the most tragic in Rangers history. He died at just 32, struck down by enteric fever, just a few days after his wife, whom he had nursed for weeks, had also passed away. Alex Smith was an outstanding left winger, fit to be ranked alongside Morton, Cooper and Laudrup. He played, as had Nicol Smith and Jock McPherson, in the triple cup winning season of 1896-97, and in the team which won 4 championships in a row through the turn of the century. Alex Smith, who played 20 times for Scotland, was an unselfish winger who specialised in low, swerving crosses which were difficult for a goalkeeper to deal with. He fully deserves his place in the Hall of Fame. Football's popularity was massive in the early years of the century, and Rangers were by now established, along with Celtic, as the country's biggest clubs. Tommy Cairns, a skillful inside left, won 6 league championship medals and was the perfect partner for Alan Morton in the latter part of Cairns' 13-year Ibrox career. By now, Rangers were firmly established in their splendid new home at Ibrox Stadium, and the legendary Bill Struth was laying down the standards which would serve the club so well for the next 40 years. Ulsterman Bert Manderson earns his place in the Hall of Fame with a remarkable record of consistency at right back. He played in 370 league matches between 1915 and 27, winning 7 championship medals, as well as 5 caps for Ireland, the last of which came at Ibrox when he played against Scotland. But for all their success in the league, neither Manderson nor Cairns ever won a Scottish Cup medal. Bill Struth was becoming increasingly frustrated by the so-called Rangers Cup hoodoo. 25 years would pass without Scottish Cup success. Andy Cunningham, a brilliant inside forward, was another outstanding member of that great 1920s team. Cunningham, another Ayrshire, won 7 championship medals, but had to settle for runners-up badges in the cup finals of 1921 and 22. To his huge relief, Cunningham, the master craftsman, finally won a cup winners' medal when the hoodoo was at last broken in 1928. Tommy Muirhead wasn't so lucky, at least in terms of a cup winners' medal, but the Fifer earns his place in the Hall of Fame as another outstanding Rangers captain. The half-back or inside forward made 353 appearances for the club, scored 49 goals and won 8 league championship medals. But Horace, as he was known, who loved to wear the bowler hat and spats, which were fashionable at the time, missed the 1928 final victory over Celtic with a knee injury and never did win a Cup winners' medal. Sandy Archibald was man of the match in that famous final win over Celtic which ended the hoodoo. He scored 2 of Rangers' 4 goals. The right-winger's record in light blue is almost unbelievable. 13 league championship wins, 3 cup medals and 162 goals in 667 matches. Archibald's 17 years of almost unbroken success at Ibrox marks him down as one of the club's true legends and an obvious choice for the Hall of Fame. This Rangers lineup from 1922-23 contains no fewer than 6 members of the Hall of Fame: Archibald, Muirhead, Cairns, Manderson, Alan Morton and Davy Meiklejohn. Ample proof that this was a golden era for the club. Meiklejohn, a brilliant centre-half, was probably the finest captain of the pre-war era. Hall of Fame member Willie Thornton called him the greatest player I ever saw. He will always be best remembered for scoring with the penalty, which set Rangers on the road to the hoodoo-ending 1928 Cup final victory.
When Paddy Connolly got the ball and he fired in a terrific shot, it was going into the side net when Hamilton dived across and touched it past for a corner. We seemed to relish the let off and we came down and we got a penalty. Davy Meiklejohn put the onus on himself, being captain of the team. He took the kick and scored.
Dougie Gray occupies a special place in the Hall of Fame as Rangers' longest-serving player of all time. In 22 years at Ibrox, from 1925 to 47, he appeared in an amazing 940 matches. The much-respected fullback won 10 league championship medals and played in 6 winning Scottish Cup finals. Gray's long service makes his place in the headlines a well-deserved one. One member of the Rangers Hall of Fame has for many years enjoyed the unique distinction of seeing his portrait hang at the top of the Ibrox marble staircase. Alan Morton, the wee blue devil, was Bill Struth's first signing for the club and will always occupy a special place in the club's history. Just 5 foot 4 inches tall, Morton turned opposing defenders inside out, scoring 115 goals and laying on countless more for the club during his 13-year career. During that time, Rangers won the league title 10 times and the Scottish Cup twice. Amazingly, Morton was only ever a part-time player and later served the club as a director for 38 years. Bob McPhail is another who gave the club sterling service for over half a century. One of the greatest forwards Scotland ever produced, his Rangers' goal-scoring record was 281 goals in 461 matches. That 1928 final was a special memory.
There was a ball just at my distance, 2 yards out, and I hit it. And after I hit it, I scored with it. Jimmy Fleming said to me, "Geez, you took that ball off my foot." I said, "Yes, but it's safer where it is."
The powerful figure of Jimmy Smith was the club's top scorer 7 times in the 1930s. In 10 seasons, this larger-than-life character scored a remarkable 269 goals, including both in the 1935 Cup final win over Hamilton Accies.
The Accies are not at all overawed by the reputation of their opponents, and in spite of lack of experience, strike their fast, progressive game. Smith, the centre-forward, gave the Ibrox club the lead. After the interval, Harrison equalised for the Accies, but Smith got a second goal from a header to give Rangers the cup by 2-1 for the 9th time.
The last of the pre-war inductees was Jerry Dawson, the prince of goalkeepers, whose handling of the heavy leather ball was always safe and secure. Dawson, who came from Falkirk, was a strong man with big hands. He had superb positional sense and played 545 matches for the club between 1929 and 45. He won 5 league championships and 2 Scottish Cup medals, and but for the war years, it would have been many more. He also turned up 14 times for Scotland, as well as in several wartime internationals. Willie Thornton was another of Rangers' most prolific goal scorers, 188 in 303 matches. His partnership with fellow Hall of Famer Willie Waddell was legendary.
I could judge where Thornton was going to be just by a mere glance at where Thornton is and know the weight to put on the cross ball. And he had the instinct. of reading the flight. Thornton was great at reading the flight of a ball, the pace of the ball, the height of the ball, whether it would go forward to it, back to it. Thornton had great instinct for that. And we just clicked from the day we came here, near enough the same time. We just clicked.
Thornton's 3 Scottish Cup medals included the 1950 victory over East Fife, when he scored 2 in Rangers' 3-0 win. Jock Tiger Shaw captained Rangers to 3 successive cup wins in 1948, 49 and 50. He was a mainstay in the Rangers' famous Iron Curtain defence and would play 283 matches, winning 4 league championship medals. Even as a defender, he appreciated the job his forwards did.
They always talked about the famous 5, Hibs' famous 5, but they never talked about the Rangers' famous 5. You know, it was always the famous 5 of the Hibs, it wasn't the famous 5 of the Rangers, because we were always on top.
The great fullback also collected 2 winners' medals in the newly created League Cup competition to add to his Scottish Cup medals. This was the 1950 trophy presentation. Willie Woodburn, Big Ben, was another member of that Iron Curtain defence, a commanding centre-half whose career ended controversially after a brutal sign-die suspension following a match with Stirling Albion. Teammate Ian McCall remembers the fateful incident.
Patterson had the ball and Ben tackled him, and Patterson went down sitting, nothing untoward about it, and the ball broke in between them, and Woodburn's found his foot in between Patterson's legs. So he was on his feet and Patterson's on the ground, and he went to draw away to go away with the ball, and Patterson locked his feet round Woodburn's leg, and the knee ligaments went, and he just picked him up, and boom. If the guy hadn't fouled him, it was actually a foul. If he hadn't done that, it would have been nothing.
It was only Woodburn's 5th sending off in 16 years, and the savagery of the sentence on a player near the end of his career shocked Scottish football. For almost 500 games, he had been a magnificent servant. Willie Waddell's place in Rangers' Hall of Fame was never in doubt. A superb right winger who crossed the ball with pace and accuracy, his playing career lasted from 1936 until 1955. Even with the interruption of the war years, he played almost 300 matches for the club, winning 4 league championship medals and 2 Scottish Cups. His partnership with Willie Thornton is one of the most productive in the club's history. The two had an almost telepathic understanding and a deep and abiding respect for each other's ability.
But Willie Waddell had this unique quality of he could cross the ball on the run. He didn't have to stop, and he'd do great feet. And there was this common just understanding that we had, which would prove very successful for ourselves and for the Rangers Football Club.
As he was to do so often, Waddell laid on one of Rangers' 4 goals in the 1949 Cup final win over Clyde, and he would follow it up with a second winners' medal 4 years later in the victory over Aberdeen. But it is not only as a player that Waddell can lay claim to be one of the club's greatest ever servants. In 1972, he was manager when Rangers won their only European trophy to date, the European Cup Winners' Cup in Barcelona, in a 3-2 victory over Moscow Dynamo. He would go on to become general manager and a director of the club, and was the driving force behind the construction of the new Ibrox Stadium after the disaster of 1971. Willie Waddell leaves a huge imprint on the history of Rangers Football Club. The team in which he played in the early 50s was one of the most successful in Rangers' long history, and no fewer than 7 of the side have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, including the captain, George Young. An inspiring figure, Corky as he was known, was a much-loved captain of both club and country, and played more than 600 times for Rangers. He won 6 league championship medals and 4 times played in Scottish Cup winning sides, scoring 2 penalties in that 1949 victory over Clyde. He scored another in one of the most glamorous and eagerly awaited challenge matches Rangers ever played, when the Russians of Moscow Dynamo visited Ibrox in 1945.
Everybody that I speak to nowadays, when they talk about the penalty kick and that, they always say, well, I plunked school that day to see that game. And I always say to them, well, if you plunked school to see the game, I must have plunked school too to play in it.
At 6'2" and 15 stone, Young was a giant figure in Rangers history in every sense of the word. He captained his country in 48 of his 55 internationals, a huge number in the 40s and 50s. And how about this for a statistic? Big George was never sent off in his long career and booked just once. Now for three more members of the Iron Curtain defence, every one of whom is in the Rangers Hall of Fame. Ian McCall signed for the club in 1945 and would play for Rangers for the next 16 years, playing more than 500 matches in an era when Rangers not only enjoyed virtually uninterrupted success at home, but also began to face the challenge of European football. McCall, who also had a BSc in civil engineering, enjoyed it all.
I had a great life. I was lucky. I was lucky playing for this club, which I supported, I may say, and being successful and good players, good people, because the players that I played with Struth as the manager, the discipline was great, and they were all great guys. There was absolutely no problems. Great life.
The goalkeeper in that famous Rangers team was Bobby Brown. Like McCall, he would manage Scotland when his playing days were over. The 1948 Cup final was one of three in which he collected a winner's medal. He also won 2 League Cup badges and played in 3 championship winning sides. Yet the PE teacher from Denny was only ever a part-timer during his career of almost 300 matches. His reluctance to go full-time cost him his place in the end, but he remains one of the club's greatest ever goalkeepers, who was part of the side to win Rangers' first domestic treble in 1949. In 2002, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
For me, it was a great deal of pleasure to come out of the services in 1946 and find that Rangers wanted me to sign. What I remember mostly in Rangers was to be part of the Iron Curtain, which I think you'll agree is legendary, and also playing in front of crowds of 148, 150,000 people. Marvellous matches to take part in.
Bobby, fantastic memories. Bobby Brown, ladies and gentlemen.
Sammy Cox was the left half in that Iron Curtain defence, and as a schoolboy in Darvel had lived just a few doors along from fellow Hall of Famer Alex Smith, the Rangers winger from the turn of the century. Cox joined Rangers in 1946, signing the forms in a proud Alex Smith's house. He played in the 3 consecutive cup-winning teams from 48 to 50, and added 3 championship medals and a League Cup badge to his collection in over 300 games for Rangers. He was another who appreciated the Bill Struth approach.
This is true. I don't think he knew, too much about the game. But he knew up here when you're playing a bad game or you're not. But he never forced us to have tactics and blah, 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 blah. As I said, Jock and I went down to the field, and that was it. You watch him, I watch him, help each other out. Let them worry about us, not us worry about them.
Belfast boy Billy Simpson was a huge favourite with the fans during the 50s. He scored 163 goals in just 239 games, a major contribution to 3 league championships and a Scottish Cup win. This one came at Tynecastle in 1957.
Last year, on this very ground, Hearts beat Rangers 4-0 to knock them out of the Cup. This year's result was 4-0 as well, but with all the goals for Rangers. A neat revenge, and here comes the last from Simpson.
Bill Struth left Simpson out of the 1953 Cup final against Aberdeen. Astonishingly, it was a disciplinary measure for being sent off in a league match before the final. Simpson only found out in the Hampden dressing room an hour before kick-off. The match was drawn 1-1, and Simpson, fortunately, was recalled for the replay.
It was near the interval and against the run of the play when Simpson scored the only goal of the match and the winning one for Rangers.
Amidst all the success of the early 50s, a young fullback from Muirkirk had joined Rangers, and Eric Caldo would go on to become one of the club's greatest fullbacks. Blessed with great pace and a classy touch on the ball, Caldo would captain club and country and made more than 400 appearances. He played in 5 championship winning sides, the League Cup winning side of 61, and won the Scottish Cup in 1960 and 62.
This is my last honour, I'm afraid, but I've thoroughly enjoyed my career, and to be with these players tonight, it's fantastic, and it brings back memories since I started playing with Rangers. 52 years this month since I McLeish with Rangers. Mind you, I must admit, Rangers had a good youth policy then at that time. I was only 8 at the time.
Caldo's fullback partner in the early 60s was Bobby Shearer, who also captained Rangers to a Hampden triumph as the treble was completed in 1964 with a cup final win over Dundee. Hamilton man Bobby's Ibrox nickname was Captain Cutlass, and as well as his 5 league championship, 3 Scottish Cup and 3 League Cup medals, he played in the European Cup semi-final in 1960 and the Cup Winners' Cup final a year later. When you talk about outstanding Rangers sides through the ages, the early 60s team has to be included, and no fewer than 7 of that elite group are recognised in the Hall of Fame, Bobby Shearer amongst them. Edinburgh-born Ralph Brand was Bill Struth's final signing in 1954. After scoring in the 1962 Cup final, he did it again the following year.
Brand, Miller, to Henderson, and all the Celtic defence in the wrong place. And Brand scored!
That goal and the 1-1 draw with Celtic was followed by 2 more in the 3-0 replay victory.
Miller. Brand, a shot on the turn of the ball into the net. An incredible goal by Ralph Brand.
This is an accolade because I was a Rangers nut. All my heroes that I was able to come through and train with, have a look at some of the photographs. To be able to join them in this Hall of Fame is a dream for a schoolboy that's came true. It's just really unbelievable.
You can't mention Ralph Brand without including his striking partner, Jimmy Miller. The partnership provided an incredible total of 368 goals in 634 games.
Brand. Miller. Jimmy Miller shoots Rangers into a 1-0 lead.
20 minutes to go as Henderson takes his corner kick. Miller, and a goal! Goal by Miller!
2 goals in the 1964 Cup final were just one of Jimmy's career highlights, as he went on to collect 5 Cup Winners' medals, 5 League Championships and a League Cup.
It's a goal, yes, and Miller has scored. I thought the ball was going over the bar.
Brand. And it must be, yes, it is. Miller has scored.
As always, goals against Celtic were remembered with special affection, and Jimmy Miller scored plenty in his 162 in light blue. Davy Wilson was one of the most skillful wingers in Rangers history, and he also scored the remarkable total of 157 goals.
First blood to Rangers from a free kick. Wilson put it in. Another Scott cross kick gave Wilson his chance to head home number 3.
That much-loved Rangers side of the early 60s rarely lost to Celtic. Wilson's contribution included one in the 1963 Cup final replay, and it gave him one of his 5 Cup Winners' medals.
Rangers were awarded just before half-time when Wilson, who'd already had a goal disallowed, got their second.
Wilson will also be remembered for being the only post-war Rangers player to score 6 goals in a single match in a 7-1 win over Falkirk in March 1962. Early in 1999, John Gregg was voted the greatest ever Ranger, the supreme accolade for a man who captained Rangers to that Cup Winners' Cup victory in 1972. The Edinburgh youngster who signed for Rangers in 1960 could never have imagined that he would go on to play more than 850 times, win 15 major trophies in addition to that never-to-be-forgotten night in Barcelona. The greatest ever award confirmed the special place John Greig holds in every Rangers fan's heart. He epitomises what it means to play and to win for Rangers. The European triumph may have marked the pinnacle, but there was so much more for Greig to celebrate. After his success as a player, he went on to manage the club and is still very much involved at Ibrox today, more than 40 years after his debut against Airdrie in 1961. Maybe he gave us a bit of a hint of what was to come that long ago afternoon. On his debut, he scored the opening goal.
The referee waving play on. For a moment, he gave the Celtic fans some hope there. He appeared to run to the spot, but waved play on. MacDonald. McLean. Russell must score. Dragon Foot finishes it off.
Play by Russell. Greig might think about a shot. Plays a shot one. Greig still going. And scoring!
There are many who believe that Jim Baxter is the most skillful player ever to play for Rangers, and it would take a brave man to disagree. Silky, elegant, supremely confident, Baxter truly was a genius with the ball at his feet. At his peak, Slim Jim was one of the greatest players in the world. Indeed, he played for a rest of the world team against England at Wembley in 1963, and he enjoyed playing against Celtic as well.
Baxter. Kushner rotating. Forrest.
Baxter's with him and gets it to Greig. Baxter. Somehow there seems to be great wide open spaces. Then running into one. Oh no.
Baxter, an elegant footballer.
Much as he enjoyed tormenting Celtic, Baxter loved playing for his country, especially against England. In 1967, he taunted the then world champions with perhaps the most famous example of keepy-uppy in Scottish football history. Jim Baxter was one of the all-time greats, and we may never see his like again. Rangers have been fortunate through the years to have seen some brilliant wingers wear the light blue. Wee Willie Henderson, just 5'4" in his long studs, was one of the best. He made his debut at 17 and went on to play more than 400 games.
Through to Henderson. Beautiful pass. Henderson. And here's Henderson. Every time he gets the ball, you feel the buzz of excitement go round Ibrox.
Quick and skillful, Henderson was a superb entertainer who won 2 league championships, 4 Scottish Cups and 2 League Cup medals during his 12-year Ibrox career.
Benman towards Henderson to go. Goal by Willie Henderson. Henderson of Rangers. And a goal! Goal by Henderson. Look at the weasel.
1 week after the infamous Scottish Cup defeat at Berwick, Sandy Jardine made his Rangers debut. 15 years later, this cultured, skillful defender finally left Ibrox after playing close to 700 matches, during which he contributed 77 goals, many of them in the memorable category. 1 or 2, mind you, weren't quite so spectacular.
away slots at home. McDonald with a chance. Jordan, yes! 4-0.
With 14 major medals to his name, including Barcelona, Sandy is one of the club's greatest ever servants. He scored in his Old Firm debut in 1967.
Inside forward, Smith. Jardine. That's a goal by Jardine. It's a goal for Rangers. With 5 minutes to half-time, that makes it Rangers 1, Celtic 0.
As we move into the 70s, 5 more Barcelona heroes join Sandy Jardine in the Hall of Fame. Willie Johnston was one of 4 survivors from the team who had lost the Winners' Cup final in 1967 and a prolific Rangers goal scorer.
Hine. Johnston. And a goal! Bella let it go through. And Johnston has scored to make it Celtic 1, Rangers 1.
McPherson again. Johnson with a chance of goal. A goal by Johnson.
Willie Johnston had a superb career for club and country, but the peak will always be that night in the Nou Camp Stadium in May 1972.
Smith going up. It's a good ball, it's a goal. It's a goal by Willie Johnston. Steen, and here's Willie Johnston with a chance. And it's a goal. It's a goal by Johnston right out of the blue. Rangers 3 up. Incredibly 3 up. The start of the second half.
Bud was always a huge favourite with the Rangers fans, and when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, it was obvious how much it meant to him.
I was born in Glasgow, but I stay in Fife. And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the happiest man in the world. Honestly, I'm the happiest man in the world. You play with Rangers, it's unbelievable. And gentlemen, I don't.
This is really got to you, isn't it? Willie Johnston, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appropriately, Rangers' other scorer against Moscow Dynamo took his place in the Hall of Fame at the same time as his teammate. Colin Steen became an instant Rangers hero when he scored 2 hat-tricks in his first 2 matches after signing for a Scottish record fee of £100,000 in 1968. He would add more than 80 more during his first 4-year spell at the club. Although the big striker returned to Ibrox for a second spell 3 years later, it was his goal at the Nou Camp for which he is best remembered.
Towards Colin Steen. Here's Steen, it's a goal! It's a goal by Steen, what a goal!
Smith cutting that one off, controlling it nicely, looking for someone in the attack. Young going through par lane, trying a shot. McDonald lets one go, and it's a great goal! A magnificent goal by Alex McDonald.
That goal against Ajax was just one of the 94 Alex McDonald scored for Rangers, and he had a pleasing habit of scoring important goals at vital times.
Carlin with it. Oh, Edmondson's there. Here's McDonald with it. It's there.
Cup final goals were always a special memory for the hard-working midfielder who had been brought up in the shadow of Ibrox.
Jackson just behind there, and McDonald lets fly. That's it. Alex McDonald makes it 2-0 for Rangers.
In more than 500 matches for the club, Duddy scored some vital goals, like this one against Juventus.
Rangers with a pre-planned move. There's Forsyth with it. Here's a great chance for Smith. And there's a goal.
Russell. Johnson signalling for a return. Alex McDonald. Beautiful goal by Alex McDonald.
Derek Johnston scored more than 200 goals in 546 appearances. Not bad for someone who served the club so well at centre-half. DJ played in defence in Barcelona, but will always be best remembered for his goals, particularly during the treble seasons of 1976 and 78. As well as the European medal he still wears proudly round his neck to this day, Johnston won 3 league championships, 5 Scottish Cups and 5 League Cups, the first of which made him an instant hero at just 16 years of age.
Henderson to MacDonald. Johnston. Steen and Derry. Johnston out in front. He's there.
Derry Johnson running through. Johnson has scored. Derek Johnson has scored. What a sensational equaliser by 17-year-old Derek Johnston.
Now Quintin Young. And that's a great goal.
I don't know if I can squeeze a word or two out of you, but you must be very, very proud.
Absolutely delighted when you see the people, the quality of people on here. It makes me very, very proud indeed, yeah.
It was Jock Wallace who brought Tam Forsyth to Ibrox, and the great motivator surely never regretted signing the rugged defender who played over 300 games but will always be remembered for that goal in the 1973 Cup final.
Here's Matheson. Ally McCoist, 11 minutes to have time. It's a good ball, it's a goal! As towards Conn. Conn going through. And it's there! The goal for Rangers. And it's in there. It's there. Forsyth getting the final touch. And that's 3-2 for Rangers. With 15 minutes of the second half gone, that ball came across. It looked as if it was trundling. First of all, past the post, onto the post, static on the line, and Forsyth, lying handy, pushed it across.
What a guy. I mean, a wholehearted player. He played 90 minutes every game. You knew you were getting from Tom. As I say, he didn't score many goals. That was a big, big goal he scored that day. And I was really, really pleased for him as an individual.
There had to be a place in the Hall of Fame for a player with Davy Cooper's skills. His left foot was simply magical and created countless goals for Rangers. But he scored a few spectacular ones as well.
Roberts is dictating things. That's brilliantly struck by Davy Cooper.
Coop was a major player in the 1978 treble-winning team, and when he was on song, he was worth the admission money on his own, leaving defenders trailing in his wake as he laid on yet another for a grateful teammate.
Jordan's there and Forsyth. Oh, what a goal! Oh! Coist to Durant, to Cooper. Cooper for Rangers. Beautiful performance by Cooper. And it's in, it's a goal, the equaliser. Brilliant run by Cooper.
Coop scored some wonderful goals in his 12-year Ibrox career, but the 1979 Dryborough Cup final goal ranks as perhaps the greatest of them all. He scored 75 goals for Rangers and won 13 major medals, including 7 in the League Cup, when Coop scored vital goals in the finals of 78 and 86, both against Celtic.
And Smith made that look obvious. He gets it crossing. There's Cooper. It's a great goal. A vital moment in this game. I make it 5.5 minutes remaining of the Skoll Cup final. Penalty to Rangers. 2-1.
Ally McCoist entered the Hall of Fame as Rangers' greatest ever goal scorer, as well as one of the club's most popular players. The man with a permanent smile played almost 600 games in an astonishing 15-year career and scored no fewer than 355 goals. Some were more spectacular than others, and Ally did score some sensational goals. But the most important thing was that they kept on coming, season after season.
Really, it's a wonderful night, Chick, because two of my heroes, Colin Steen and Big Derek, were my two heroes when I was a wee boy, you know. And to see those lads in the Hall of Fame, and special for me to see my wee pal Durante get in. I never realised the Kilmarnock first team coach was so popular with Rangers fans. It's unbelievable. By the way, they've not won a game since he went. Have you seen that?
It was John Gregg who signed the young McCoist in 1983, and he quickly set about notching the first of his record 27 Old Firm goals.
Well, there's a great goal. Ally McCoist.
Here's McCoist. Tries a chip. Oh, he's done it! And that breaks the Premier Division record. Here goes McCoist. He's done it!
Here's McCoist, he must score! That's going. Great chance there, and sudden there's a goal for Rangers. Scored by McCoist. Got the goal, McCoist. 1-0 to Rangers, and it's the old stager who's done it again for Walter Smith. How often has this man been the scourge of Celtic?
McCoist's closest friend, Ian Durant, at his best, was undoubtedly one of Europe's finest midfield players, and despite being robbed of 2 years of his career by injury, went on to play almost 350 times for Rangers. Ian was always hugely popular with the fans, perhaps because he was one of them, growing up along the road from Ibrox in Kenning Park. The supporter became the star.
What does it mean to you? A different class. I'll look back years. I can die happy now. Don't get emotional on me now. Are you feeling a bit that way? No, I'm brand new. Just like to always thank all the people who voted for me. It's a great accolade, and I'm sure now in years to come now my family will be really proud.
What was the most special of all the moments you had at Rangers?
Anytime you beat Celtic.
When Graeme Souness arrived at Ibrox in April 1986, Rangers and Scottish football would never be the same again. The club's first player-manager, who had scaled the heights with Liverpool and in Italy's Serie A, set about what soon became known as the Rangers Revolution. Within 3 months, he had won his first trophy.
Penalty to Rangers. 2-1. Beautifully touched on, beautiful move by Rangers again. William playing some superb football, engineered mainly by the man spraying out that pass at the moment, Souness. Now Cooper. Oh, it's there!
Souness's priority, of course, was to bring the championship back to Ibrox for the first time in 9 years, and he succeeded with assistant Walter Smith alongside him. He also led the club to their first Parkhead win for 9 years and brought top-class players and the fans back to Ibrox.
Rangers, for the boys in this room, for the boys that have played football or are playing football, Rangers are such a special club. I promise you, you'll remember it for the rest of your days. Well done.
One of the key figures Graeme Souness recruited was the England captain Terry Butcher, who quickly fell in love with the club and established himself as one of the great Rangers captains. Terry made 176 appearances in just 4 seasons, leading the club to 3 league championships and 2 league cups. On the day Rangers clinched that first championship at Pittodrie, Graeme Souness was sent off, and it was Terry Butcher who scored the championship winning goal.
There's Cooper, there's Butcher, he scored! Butcher has scored for Rangers! Free kick to Rangers, Wilkins will take this. There's Butcher with it, it's in! Butcher, the equaliser.
Yeah, obviously I'm very flattered to be here. A lot of the players who have come up before, some real legends, have said how fortunate they were to play for Rangers and have a great team in front of them. I think it's fortunate is the right word, because once you play for a club like Rangers, and I've been lucky enough to play for a few clubs, it stays with you forever. You're always a teddy bear. You're always a Rangers player. Just being a part of the club, no matter what you're English or Italian or whatever. To be part of Rangers, and that will live here forever. That will live forever in the heart, anyway.
There's Butcher! Butcher for Rangers!
Ray Wilkins was another massively influential Souness signing. His impact at Ibrox was immense, especially in young players like Ian Durrant and Ian Ferguson. Yet the Englishman played fewer than 100 matches for Rangers.
As much in the dressing room as on the pitch. Without taking anything away from Razor, maybe more in the dressing room than what we're getting on the pitch from him. He was well respected. The players looked up to him the same way as they do Terry Butcher.
The skill which had brought Wilkins 84 caps for England was quickly evident in the Rangers midfield, and he played an influential role in the winning of the '88 League Cup and 2 league titles.
That was a magnificent pass from Wilkins, it really was. Well, watch it. It went all the way through. Johnson onside, brought it down. Never an easy chance, but he made it look so.
That sublime pass to Mo Johnston would be Wilkins' last contribution. As he walked off the pitch for the final time in November 1989, the Englishman was clearly emotional as the fans rose to acclaim him. Razor had scored just 3 goals for the club, but one of them is among the best ever seen at Ibrox. Mind you, it did come in a 5-1 win over Celtic.
Goff and Butcher have gone up. It's launched in field by Stevens. There's Butcher. Back with Wilkins. Absolutely magnificent from Ray Wilkins. 10 minutes to half-time, and a goal which Ray Wilkins will never have bettered in an illustrious career.
Terry Butcher's replacement as Rangers captain was Richard Gough, who had been the club's first £1 million signing in 1987. Gough was to prove a massive influence, both on and off the pitch, as he led the club to 9 league championships in a row. A world-class defender, Gough's second game for Rangers was the infamous Old Firm match, when Chris Woods and Terry Butcher were sent off, along with Frank McAvenny, and Graham Roberts took over in goal.
Yeah, the ball inside. McCarthy did well with the header, but it's Durrant again, the last chance perhaps for Rangers. The chance is on for Gough! Richard Gough makes it 2 apiece!
That famous equaliser was the first of Gough's 34 goals in over 400 appearances. He also led the side to their first Scottish Cup win in 11 years, against Airdrie in 1992.
The goal sets up McCoist. That's a good effort by McCoist! And deadly finishing pays off once again for Rangers. right on right. Going for the early cross, there's Hateley! That's a magnificent goal for Rangers!
It was the goal which set Rangers on the way to an epic victory in the league decider against Aberdeen in 1991. For Mark Hateley, it was just one more important goal in a long list.
Here's Hateley's in the clear, it's a great chance for Rangers. Hateley against Bonner. Brilliant play from Hateley. That's played on well by Hateley for Johnston. Here's Hateley again, switching to his left foot. It's a second for Rangers.
The Englishman formed a lethal strike partnership with Ally McCoist in the great Rangers side of the early 90s. Mark contributing 115 in just 222 games.
Challenge as well. McStay's there for Celtic. That's good play by McStay. The chance is on for Collins. That's a magnificent save by Andy Gorham.
And how often were those words heard as the man known simply as the goalie established himself as one of Rangers' greatest ever. Andy Gorham often seemed to save his very best for matches against Celtic.
Setting it up for Paul McStay. The great effort by McStay, and the save from Andy Gorham denies the Celtic captain.
Now Strachan, played in for Cantona, a nice turn by him, and Cantona's finish is stopped superbly by Gorham. Here's Cantona, here's a chance, brilliantly stopped again, hit with awesome power there by Cantona.
Now Paul McStay, the great save again from Gorham. There's Van Hooydonk. Great save by Gorham.
In 7 phenomenal years, Andy Gorham played more than 250 matches, winning 10 major medals in one of the club's most successful eras.
Oh, a nice change of direction, challenged by Goff. This is Tosh McKinlay, that's a great cross. What an incredible save by Andy Gorham from Van Hooydonk.
So, Gascoigne's already had his penalty saved for Rangers. It's Pierre Van Hooydonk to keep his nerve for Celtic and keep them top of the table, and Gorham has matched Kerr's achievement.
While Gorham was keeping them out, Brian Laudrup was working his magic at the other end. The supremely skillful Dane is arguably the finest overseas player to pull on a Rangers jersey. Laudrup made a phenomenal impact on Scottish football after Walter Smith signed him from Fiorentina. He was Scotland's Player of the Year, not once, but twice.
And here's a break on for Laudrup, showing tremendous pace, he's past the goalkeeper! A sensational goal by Laudrup. Still it's Gascoigne, forcing it through. Chance on here for Laudrup. And it's a great goal by Laudrup.
Jury, Laudrup has sprung clear. Brian Laudrup past Marshall, and Rangers feel they've got 1 foot in the final.
Jury to Laudrup. That's good running by Laudrup, a chance here for Rangers. That's the upper.
There's a slip by O'Neill, and Laudrup to win. Rangers look for a goal and get one.
The Dane had exceptional skill and was an accomplished goal taker as well as maker. Of all his goals, though, the most important was the header, maybe the first of his Rangers career, which ensured 9 in a row that night at Tannadice.
Miller's cross, a good one, and hits Laudrup. It's a classic from Laudrup.
So, you sleeping at Jim White's tonight? Are you rooming with Jimmy?
Yeah, obviously.
You arrangement?
Why are you so good, Jim?
So, what you got? What's your greatest memory as a Ranger?
My nights out with the goalie and Gaza.
Running Laudrup close as Rangers' most popular overseas player would certainly be George Alberts, the likeable German who quickly won a special place in the fans' hearts. His thunderous shooting brought him a rich haul of goals from midfield. His place in the Hall of Fame clearly meant a great deal to him.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I deserve to be up here, but it was a nice memory for me, and it's nice to be home again.
George, you said home, you're a German. You mean home?
I mean home, yeah.
But Albert gets it through! The hammer has torn Celtic apart. Well, you won't see many free kicks hit any harder than that.
So to our 51st and final inductee to the Rangers Hall of Fame, the inimitable Paul Gascoigne.
That's good play by Solenko. McCoist is Gascoigne racing through the middle. It's great play for Rangers, and Gascoigne has scored!
Gascoigne going through, a chance here to score. That's a brilliant finish by Gascoigne.
A lack of concentration, a chance for Rangers to finish it, and it's Gascoigne. And that ties it all up.
Beat footwork again from Gascoigne, away from Hunter. Charging into the area now. Oh, that's a classic.
Never far from controversy throughout his eventful 3.5 years at Ibrox, Gazza produced some moments of dazzling individual brilliance, as well as some of the greatest goals ever seen at the stadium. The fans adored him, and the feeling was mutual. He may only have played just over 100 games for Rangers, but Gazza's impact was extraordinary, and his stunning performance during the victory over Aberdeen, which clinched 8 titles in a row, is surely one of the greatest individual displays in the club's history.
Here's Gascoigne now. Can he produce some magic? Still it's Gascoigne. Oh yes! A tremendous goal by Gascoigne! It's been very evenly balanced. Here's Gascoigne now, pushing forward, showing great determination. Is Gascoigne who's going to take this one, and Gascoigne has already scored from the penalty spot. This for the hat-trick in the Championship.
The Celtic players can't believe it, and Gascoigne might punish them now on the counter-attack. Celtic are filling the back. Laudrup wide for Alberts. There's Gascoigne!
So there they are, 51 heroes in light blue, whose special contribution over the last 130 years of Rangers Football Club has earned them the supreme accolade of an honoured place in the Rangers Hall of Fame.
They were pretty special, weren't they? When you think of the thousands of players who have represented Rangers since Moses McNeil and his pals formed the club more than 100 years ago, then it must be very special indeed to be awarded a place in the club's Hall of Fame. I know quite a few of the players, and I've been lucky enough to play against a few of them. And I know how much that they have contributed to Rangers' great success over the years. I'm extremely proud to be only the 11th manager in Rangers history, and I remain driven in the quest for success for this great club.